The Truck Series, the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series all head to Richmond this weekend. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. So excited for the show here today. And right out of the gate, I'm saying the trucks, Phil, you and I are texting. We got Ty Majeski coming on the All Things Go podcast. I got trucks on my mind, but the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series are all heading to Richmond this weekend, which I think is going to be a great weekend of racing. I'm very excited and want to say hello and welcome to everybody that's joining us on X right now or on YouTube. I'm seeing a lot of love here coming in for our guest here tonight, Tina Bettino. So a lot of fun. We're going to really enjoy this next hour. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, thanks for your support. X, thank you as well, you guys, and YouTube, helping our friends over at In Between Media by subscribing to their platform. They're close to 1,000 subscribers. We talked about the last few weeks, getting them to that. So really appreciate everybody's support. And again, this is going to be one of those shows where we have a lot of fun here tonight. I feel like the energy is going to be brought, so I'm really looking forward to it. And let's just introduce the panel now if you are new. And I want to start with Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. Phil, you did a great episode, and I highly recommend anybody go listen to it. You did a little bit of Major League Baseball talk with Nick MLB Picks. So how are you doing? And a great show once again.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we turning into a bit of a tradition to have Nick's MLB Picks on before opening day, and he is just a wealth of knowledge for baseball. So the episode this week, the runtime's a little long. We do full NASCAR, and then we went right into his future cards, and man, it is extensive. So if you can listen to it before, maybe 1 o'clock tomorrow, you can get in a lot of those bets, but there are still a good amount of futures that'll be available even after, opening day starts. And those conversations are still worth the listen. So even if you're catching it, approaching Richmond on Sunday, he's still a great guest to have and great wealth of knowledge, like I said. So give him a follow at Nick's MLB Picks because it's baseball season.
It is baseball season. That's right. Tomorrow, the Phillies, hopefully, unless it rains. But what's really cool, and I'll just plug what you guys did last year. You talked about Tampa Bay being the first to 10 wins, and they went 10-0 to start the year. So there's a lot of good information. It's not just who's your favorite team. This is who I think is going to win the division. It is in depth. It is really easy to follow. For somebody that doesn't watch as many MLB games like I used to, for me, it is easy to follow, and I get locked in, ready for the MLB season. So really appreciate you doing that. Let's turn to our next panelist here tonight, and it's Ryan Stevens, CEO, creator of True Performance Ranks. Ryan, how did everybody do last week to win the race?
We did good. I was on the Bell Toyota train then. I think we all were. So it was a little disappointing ending there, but still up over 3 units betting. The props hit. So except for Toyota to win. So overall, I'll take that because I thought it was exciting watching Bell try to mount that comeback at the end. I know a lot of people, got like a 50% on Gluck's poll or whatever, but I enjoyed the race. I like strategy, things like that. And it was cool watching him go his own. He went to the beat of his own drum and almost came back and won. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if Gibbs wouldn't have held him up for a lap, half a lap, Bell would have been there. He had the fresher tires. He was just running laps like crazy. So it was really, I agree. I think when we do things from a betting perspective and we see a lens like that, a race like we saw on Sunday is a little bit different to us. We're not the fans that are just looking for a Game 7 moment every single time. So, yeah, I really I thought that was good, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you here tonight, Ryan. So let's welcome on now our guest, our industry guest here this week, and it's Tino Patino, who I talked about a little earlier. He is a multi-platform content specialist, which I love. He does a lot with the racing, the betting analyst. You'll hear him on Sirius XM. You'll see him on Front Stretch through the Gears podcast. Content creator through and through. Obviously, you see the gold jacket, so you know the man's going to bring it tonight. Tino, first and foremost, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's always great listening to the show. I've been commenting for a few weeks, so being able to be here live in person or virtually in person here couldn't be. This is probably the best day of my life, honestly. So let's go.
Oh, I like it. Well, then let's get some winners tonight. Then, am I right? Well, I do got to ask you this though: the gold jacket. Where did that originate from?
Okay, so my tagline throughout my entire content creating career, or honestly life, has just been staying gold, trying to be the best I can be, the best Tino I can be, trying to make people happy, smile, laugh, anything like that. If I can inspire just one person, that's a success. And so to me, that's what staying gold's about. I saw the gold jacket there at Macy's, actually, and shout out to my sister. She is a merchandiser, fashionista, styler, and she helps people out there. You can follow her at Style Me Ash. She's gonna love that promo there. So
I like that.
She styled me up with this, and it's lived on ever since.
Okay. Well, see, I always like hearing the backstory to that, and I know so many people will as well. So you are clearly familiar with the show and how everything's run. So again, looking forward to having you on tonight. We're going to jump into the first topic of conversation here this evening, and it's rapid fire. Go through, ask the guys a couple questions. Going to ask them 3 questions each, and then we'll get into some of the markets, and we'll hear what you guys have to say. Make sure you keep the comments flowing on X and on YouTube. We'll get your comments and questions up here. Phil, I'm going to start with you. Better finish on Sunday, Ricky Stenhouse or Josh Berry?
Oh, man, dude. You don't give me a heads up like you're going to throw a pile of shit my way to start the show?
Nope. I come out of the gate.
All right. My mentality here is Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Okay.
Going back 9 races, he's got 5 top 20s. I think top 20 is a good bar to set for somebody like that. And I have like little to no faith in Josh Berry. He needs to prove it to me in order for me to, ride with him in any sense. So not that I am in love with Ricky Stenhouse this week, but 50%, a little bit over 50% hit rate for a top 20. Can Josh Berry get into the top 20? I doubt it. So I'm going to roll with Ricky here early in the week.
All right, you're going to roll with Ricky, and I bring Ricky up for a reason. I was watching the other night. If anybody saw on Twitter, I posted my daughter. She was up at midnight singing, talking, and she said, "Daddy, all I want to do is watch race cars." So we went down and we watched the fall Richmond race. We watched about 150 laps. And in there, I was realizing, wow, Ricky was pretty good. They did have issues in the spring, and they were talking about him in the race. And it made me think, man, maybe Ricky Stenhouse is an interesting option here this weekend. Now, Phil, I will tell you, I did bet Josh Berry 4-1, finished top 10. So there's that. Ryan, okay. I'm going to go to you next. And your favorite betting metric as you look at Richmond and betting that facility this week?
Oh, that's tough with some of the lines we've been given. I'll probably say head-to-heads this week. I think there's a bigger edge. Most weeks I like, top 5s, top 10s, but I think there's a track like this where it's so unique and you see some of the same names quite a bit excel here. And also too, you can bring perhaps some tire wear issues into this. I think you can target some good head-to-head matchups here.
Okay, so you like the head-to-head market specifically when we go to a place like this, maybe a little bit more tire wear, a little bit more opportunities to bet. Now, Tino, I'm going to throw one over to you. Your favorite gold jacket moment?
Okay, for sure. So gold jacket moment would mean what exactly?
Oh, like you're a play that you hit, and obviously when you're celebrating, like I see you I show my wife every time whenever you do your video and then post it. So like your favorite gold jacket moment, what was the big bet you hit, and or something like that?
For sure. Well, there's been a lot so far, which I guess I'm definitely very fortunate about. Yeah, celebrating is a good thing. I'll definitely say one in person has to be the first one ever. Kyle Larson winning at my home track, you want to call it, at Watkins Glen. That's where those reaction videos for me really originated, because I knew that was my first ever betting victory, at least for an outright winner, and I had to go all out. And once I did that, I knew I had to keep it coming if I wanted that to be my brand. So Kyle Larson, 2021 Watkins Glen victory, I believe, or 2022, either one. 2022.
Okay, so Kyle Larson there, and then Sean, maybe a buddy of yours, says he hears that you like clam chowder.
Well, he's definitely supporting me, so he is a little bit of troll, a little support, but no, I definitely appreciate those guys. They're my New Hampshire buddies there. We went to the race last season and saw an MTJ dominance. So Sean, I think we'll be hearing him again this weekend.
Okay, well, I like that, and I appreciate Sean listening to us here. Now, Phil, I'm going to throw one back to you. Thoughts on Chris Bell versus Kyle Busch post-race? I know you're a hockey guy, and you've probably gotten in the mix a time or two. Bell looked shook.
Yeah, dude, he's got that like baby face. I feel like he's not the guy that ever he's a people pleaser. It seems like he's just like, he always wants to be on the right side of folks. He's still young. Meanwhile, Kyle knew what he was doing. It's his ex-teammate. He knows he can kind of pick on him. I kind of felt bad for Bell. I didn't think he expected that coming. First of all, he just busted his ass to try to win the damn race. And then all of a sudden, this guy's coming in out of nowhere from something that happened like an hour ago. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, I almost just won the race. Like, let me go. So I thought it was a little bit of a bully move there by KFB, but that's why he's KFB.
You'd think. I mean, like you said, like that happened so long ago that he's just stewing in the car the entire time. Then runs out of gas after he crosses the start-finish line. His buddy MTJ has to push him back, so he's just fuming as could be. Now, have you ever been in the position of Bell, or are you more like a Kyle Busch when it comes to maybe some of your hockey altercations?
Well, I could tell you. So, in the amount of shock that Bell had on his face, I can tell you, we played a team from Canada when we were growing up in Lake Placid. And we got into a bit of a kerfuffle, and the kids from Canada were unbelievable. Like 6 of them at once. Yeah. Put their fingers in the cage and ripped our cages off and just started pounding on us. I'm like, how the hell did they do that? So like that was one time where we were like, holy shit, this is pretty crazy.
Not their first time.
No, not their first time. So I was in Bell's position in that sense, for sure.
Okay, so you were in okay, well, I'm glad that I brought that up then. Ryan, I'm going to throw one over to you. From a qualifying standpoint, have you found a qualifying bet that you like currently on the board?
No, I'm not going to bet qualifying, but I did post all of the qualifying results on Short Flats. And Group B is absolutely loaded. So there might be some shots people can take in Group A, but just to make the final round and then just hope they can put down one hot lap there. But like Ty Gibbs is sitting real good in Group A. I feel like if he doesn't make the final round, he has wrecked his car. So I don't know. I think there's a big disparity between Group A, Group B, but I don't want to bet qualifying. No, thank you.
Okay, well, I saw you brought that up on Twitter, so I wanted to make sure I tied something into qualifying for you there. So I appreciate you sharing that. Tino, I'm going to throw one over to you. Better finish on Sunday. Will it be Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano?
Oof, tough one here. I got to go with Brad. RFK speed, I feel like, has been more prominent. Joey's just having an off year. I think he can, if he's going to turn around, could be at Richmond, but I just got to go with RFK here.
There's one guy, so Kevin Harvick, obviously really good there. When he won, actually, Tino, the year you and I met down there, and Kevin was so good, but there was Logano. There was something about Logano that day that he was just able to really get in through the turns, and I really feel like he's itching to get back to a place like this, especially, and I know we're waiting for the Fords to break out. We've seen a lot of Chevy and Toyota love, so I'm going to be really curious to see what Logano does this week. Now, Phil, I'm going to throw your last question to you. How about from a Truck Series standpoint, your favorite Truck Series driver that will get a win in 2024? Is there a name that comes to mind, throughout the season that maybe somebody, not a known name, not like a Ty Majeski is going to get in a victory, but like somebody that maybe is sleeping under the radar a little bit?
Well, I haven't seen what I had hoped this far from Jake Garcia, but he's someone, in that camp, they're all top notch. That's the varsity team. I had high expectations coming in for him, and I'm not giving up just yet. So let's keep our eyes peeled. I think we might be able to see some progress and maybe snag a long shot down the road. But he's someone that I'm not giving up on yet. If we're going for guys outside the normal dudes.
No, I like that. Jake Garcia's Rye saying Bailey Curry. Chris is saying Taylor Gray. So names
He's
there
a normal
that.
Dude.
Oh, Taylor Gray is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chris, come up with somebody else. But Bailey Curry, we'll accept that name.
Bailey Curry. Rye loves Bailey Curry.
Rye does love Bailey Curry. That's right. Ryan, last question for you. What comps do you use when you look at Richmond? Is it only one place, or is it a multitude of tracks that you use in your data set?
Mostly like Phoenix, New Hampshire, and then obviously Richmond itself.
Right.
Like Martinsville isn't really the same. I have True Performance rinks with all short flats, and that's mainly because that's more like package based, and there's a lot of splits there. But yeah, I'd stick within maybe 2 other tracks plus Richmond itself.
Okay.
And then look at Phoenix from this year because it's the first time they had a real race, in this new package and everything. So with the same tire they're going to use. So I think that's important too.
Okay, I like that. Tino, last question for you, and not to put too much pressure on you, but we did this now the last few weeks, and when I asked the question, the answer we've gotten has actually hit. So Ryan got it right a few weeks ago, and last week Dale Tanhart got it right as well. So Monday morning headline will read what?
Oh, Monday morning headline's gonna read Martin Truex Jr. gets it done, sweeps all the stages, leads all the laps, and takes home the victory at Richmond.
Leads all the laps. I think that would be interesting if that would happen. So, okay, you think Martin Truex gets it done on Sunday, and I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about your Martin Truex love. So let's transition now into the ride or fade segment. This is the head-to-head portion of the show where we hear what the guys think they found value on the board, and then we ask the guys, you're going to ride that play or you're going to fade it? So, Phil, I'm going to give you the floor first. Where are we heading in the head-to-head market?
I'm bringing this one up because I'm dying to get somebody's opinion on it. So if you guys tear me up, that's kind of why I'm bringing it up. Okay. This name was already brought up in a head-to-head format already. Josh Berry going up against Austin Dillon. I am liking Austin. I'm not liking Austin Dillon. I'm betting Austin Dillon plus 100 on DraftKings. And to me, I talked about this on the podcast. This is kind of my last stand. Him and there's another guy that maybe we'll talk about tonight. Last stand. If they can't figure it out, these guys that are historically good at Richmond can't figure it out this weekend. They're on suspension. Like, I'm suspending them from betting on them, for a month or so. Austin Dillon against Josh Berry, he's been like very good at this racetrack. He's in the top 10 for average finish in the last 9 races. And even, more recently, like, he's been solid at Richmond. And Josh Berry is a total unknown for me. I think he's thrown off some metrics because of how he finished, second, which was a strategy play last year in Chase's car. So I don't believe that we've seen anything out of Josh, who's had not really too much like adversity. If this is making sense, like you're seeing what he's got. I feel like Dillon has had a bunch of bad luck. We didn't get to see what he really had at Phoenix because he was out of the race before it even started. And that would have been a good barometer to be able to tell us, like, okay, who might be the advantage here. So the fact that we're getting plus money on a guy, this is what the doctor ordered for the 3 car. And if they go out and they lay an Easter egg, that would be like that. Then pretty good. I would be kind of disappointed and let down. But I'm willing to take the plus money play because Berry at minus 130. No, thank you. Like I said, he just hasn't proven it. So, and I see, some of the chat in there about like RCR sucking. I get it. You know what I mean? That's you're right. But to me, this is the shot I'm willing to take with Dillon here because of his success in the past.
I got one thing to say.
Yeah.
Barry smokes Dylan.
Give me a line.
Smokes him.
Give me a line.
Give you a line.
7.5, 8.5. What?
Oh, you mean spread?
You say he smokes him. What's smoke him?
Smokes him. Oh, okay.
What?
He'll smoke him by at least 7 positions. Smokes him.
Shit, man. Okay.
I mean, Dylan's been awful. RCR's been off. Like, I'm not expecting Dylan to show up at Richmond and be like, he's going to be turning it up. Barry, this is his type of track. This is his wheelhouse. We didn't get to see it at Phoenix, kind of like what you were alluding to. Spun out in qualifying, didn't do well in the race, but he had a lot of speed. Came up through the field, had to go back. So I love Barry. This is why I like doing the show.
This is why I brought it up, because I want to see this. I want to see this play out. That's why I bet on it, because I want to follow it. I don't want to lose track of it, because if Barry goes out and actually shows me something, okay, great. I have something I can work with the rest of the year. Have something I can point to.
Yeah.
And if Dylan lays an egg, like I said, then he's out. You know what I mean? But this is the chance to bounce back for that team.
I think it's him and Harrison Burton are the 2 drivers with the worst average finish to start the year. So we'll see. I'm interested in to see this. Ryan, how about you? What do you think? You riding with Phil with Dylan, or you fading that?
No, I tried it with Dylan. I tried making the case for Dylan here a couple weeks ago. And what does he do? He goes out there, he races Denny Hamlin like an asshole and burns up his tires and loses the head-to-head. I know Wormy's in here too. He lost his head-to-head that day too, because Dylan's a dickhead. So there's no way I'm backing 83 in this matchup. And you are right. One of the main points too, just besides me, being over him, is that Barry did show up with speed last time in this package. So, terrible, I don't know, luck or ran out of skill on his qualifying run, whatever it was, but still that car had speed. And that whole team is good here. Ryan Preece qualified 11th last time out and had a legit top 5 finish here. I had him as the 7th best car in the race. So Stewart Haas cars can show up here, as we know. Obviously no one's Harvick on that team, but I'm on Barry's side on this one. Sorry, Phil.
Hey, it happens. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
I almost did a
Venmo what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, what do you got?
All right. So I'm gonna ride with you just because I like your mindset. I want to like fight for you here, because I think what you're saying does make sense. Now, the only issues that I'm seeing is, where is Josh Berry going to have to finish that is going to be worse than Austin Dillon, right? Or vice versa, rather. So, okay, Josh finished 2nd in this race last season, but he was in the 9 car, and that was a strategy play. He was not a top 5 car running all day. He was within, top 10 to 20 in that range. For the RCR cars, Kyle Busch in this specific race last year finished 14th, and Austin Dillon finished 25th. So that's where it gets tough for me, is like, okay, where is Josh Berry going to have to finish, you think, for Austin Dillon to have to beat him? I feel like Austin Dillon's going to have to get a top 15 at least to beat Josh Berry in this matchup. But all right.
But all right. Yeah, I like it.
Mention our simulations have it Barry minus 154.
Minus
Let's have Joe in here.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
So I'll just, and I know we don't usually spend this much time on a rider fade, but I appreciate it. So I feel like the spectrum, like Dylan in the next gen car at Richmond, 25th was his worst finish. But he had a 9th, a 10th, and a 16th. So I think Dylan, if they're back, right, historically, like if they go to this track, it is what the doctor ordered. He is figuring it back out. They know what they're doing. I think he's running mid-teens. I think he's running 17th. Okay. And Barry, he's an enigma to me right now. Like, I don't know where Barry's going to run. Somebody said Dylan's going to be laps down to start. Like, I understand what Ryan was saying about Stewart Haas being fast, and Ryan Preece, but I could see Barry being 2 laps down. That's just how I see it right now. So, like I said, if it goes out and he proves me something, then great. I get to bet on Josh Berry, moving forward. But that's not how I see it right now.
Well, I think you said we usually don't dwell on too many of these conversations, but because you bet it, I think it is good to be able to talk this out, like you're saying. So that'll be a fun one to watch for sure. Ryan, I'm going to throw the next one over to you. Where are we headed with a head-to-head?
So this might not be a popular one either, but I like Denny Hamlin minus 150 over Byron on DraftKings, and I like it quite a bit. I got some fun facts here, and then I got some other stuff that kind of really hammers it home. But Byron has raced at Richmond in 11 Cup races, and Denny has beat him every single time. So even when Denny has a bad week, he finishes 20th, Byron finishes 24th. He finishes 16th, Byron finishes 20th. And again, that's only 11 races. I guess it's a small sample size. But then why don't you just look at Denny's sample size, which is over 30 races of just dominance here and 4 wins, and half of those being top 5 finishes. It's unreal. In his 11 tries here, Byron has 2 top 10s. In that same 11 race span, Hamlin's finished in the top 5 8 times. So he's not only beating him, he's crushing him in this. And this dates back to last year. So this is like beyond, anyone can look at that, like, oh, who's beating who, whatever. But if you look at last year and you take true performance ranks on the shorter, flatter tracks, there's a significant decline in Hendricks, like halfway through the year. You go Phoenix and Richmond to start the year, and I'll take Larson too, so we'll even lump him in with this.
Okay.
So Byron, 5th and 2nd best TPR, Phoenix and Richmond. Larson 4th and 1st. Then you start hitting the middle of the season here. You go to Martinsville, New Hampshire, Richmond, and again, like, you don't have to use Martinsville, but again, 16th, 13th, 19th, 21st. These are the type true performances that Byron's getting on these tracks. Even when we came back for the championship race, they get 2 guys in there. And in my opinion, neither of those 2 ever had a shot to win the championship. So I think if Bell is out there, he beats them. And obviously they lost anyways. So that kind of carried into this year. Phoenix, I had Larson like a mid-packer. I didn't think he ever had any speed or was a threat to anybody. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, minus 150, no one really likes to lay that, but when I have their true performance, like Denny's number 1 in this package at 4.71 and Byron's number 11 at 11.57, I'm comfortable with paying the minus 150 here in a matchup that he's never lost to this person.
Okay. Tino, I'm going to throw it to you before I get to Phil. You riding or fading this?
I'm riding that. Denny, Toyota, it's a Toyota-sponsored race. It's Denny's one of his best tracks. I feel like the night race even plays into his hands even more. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer ride for me. I like that pick.
Okay. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, I'll be quick since I yapped too long last time. It's Denny. I mean, the minus 150 scares folks off, but it's Denny. He's the pick.
Yeah, I what was the price for Byron again? What was that price?
I only wrote down Hamlin minus 150. I can look it up real quick though.
Yeah, I think it might be price dependent there for me, but
or something.
Plus 120, you said?
Probably, just a guess.
Okay, it's just a guess. Yeah, I'm torn here. I just can't bet against Hamlin, especially at a place like Richmond.
Plus 115.
Plus 115. Okay. Yeah, I like Hamlin, so we'll ride with you on that one. Hamlin, I like that. Tino, I'm gonna let you close out this market. Where we headed from a head-to-head standpoint?
All right, so this one was a little tricky to me, especially with the good ones that have already been thrown out there. But the one that I'm looking at right now is Chris Buescher over Kyle Larson. Buescher's minus 105 on DraftKings. Larson's minus 125. I'm trending in the Buescher direction, and I think that's a little bit surprising considering Kyle Larson has won this race last year. But to me, I think RFK has shown sneaky speed in the long green flag runs at Richmond. We've seen it before. We saw it, in the race last year at the summer race. Yeah, he won, but I thought that race was a little different than most Richmond races we've seen. But I feel like at Phoenix too, Brad and Buescher were there at the end. And with that being a comparable track to Richmond in this one, I don't think Kyle Larson really, now in terms of Phoenix, Kyle Larson brings the speed there, yes, but Richmond specifically, even with him winning at this race last year, it's not one of his best tracks. He's got on record of saying that. And I think Buescher has a better chance of finishing higher. I want to be more in on the Fords this weekend, but I'm not. But if I were to be, it would be on an RFK driver like we mentioned before. So I'd go Buescher minus 105 over Larson minus 125.
Okay, so you like the 2 drivers there that won last year, Buescher and Larson, matching them up. I actually like the Buescher side as well. I do think Logano from the Ford perspective is going to be good this weekend. I also think Buescher as well. Just something about this track. Whereas before, he even said it in his post-race show or interview. He said, I used to say, just flood this place. But now he's changing his tune in the Gen 7 era, and RFK obviously loves. They really thrive in the short track package. Phil, how about you?
Man, this is a tough one. I think because of the kind of the stuff that I talked about on the podcast last night, I gotta just side with Larson on this one.
Okay.
Something about the spring race, and he's got a 5th and a 1st in the spring race, the next gen car. Not as good in the second race of the season, kind of like to Ryan's point actually earlier. So if you're gonna get him, maybe now's the time. Buescher, I kind of like the other RFK driver this week a little bit more. Maybe we'll talk about him later, but I'm thrown for a loop. I think I'd just probably go with Larson, just trusting him a little bit more, and keep my eyes peeled to see if Buescher can maintain consistency here.
Yeah, so you like the Larson side. The interesting thing about Larson, I probably would like him a little bit more if this was daytime, and you'd have to find an area. I don't know how much nighttime. Like I have to look at what the temperature difference is going to be. But a guy like Larson, like you're saying, Phil, able to really find a groove, just have that extra level. I think this is going to be a really tight matchup. I really do. So you're on the Larson side there. Ryan, how about you?
Man, this is a tough one.
Is there like a 15-second delay?
Yeah, well, I had it muted. I had to unmute it.
Okay.
So I was talking, but you couldn't hear me.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a very tough one. Plus, I was pulling up some stats here too because I think this one is like neck and neck.
Yeah.
I have a Buescher bet to win. So for the sake of having fun on this, I'm going to take the Buescher side on this, and it also goes along with what I said earlier about how Larson showed up to Phoenix, and that tying into how they were from the middle of last year through the end of the season. In a short track package, they're just kind of lost. So whereas Keselowski and Buescher are streaking in the other direction. So I'll side with Buescher.
Okay, so you'll side with Buescher there as well with Tino and myself. So good conversations there. Let's go ahead, Phil.
I just wanted, so Chris asked a good question, like where are they going to qualify, predict the market, right? And Larson has him qualifying, whether it's the last 9 races at Richmond, Buescher has like double his average starting position. Next gen 4 races, it's 11 point something to 17 point something in favor of Larson. And then on the short flat tracks last year, Larson has him beat there. Buescher's average starting position was basically 19. So that's just,
then you got Buescher who started 26th and won.
He can win. I know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But to Chris's point, I thought that was a good comment. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of that.
I think they're both in Group A too. I mean, so yeah, I just think A is it's going to be easy for some of these guys to make the final round, qualify in the top 10.
So with it being easier, and these two are both in that group, probably seeing these two, I don't have it in front of me. More than likely, they could be 2 of the top 5. You think that are advancing and having a top 10 starting spot?
Yeah, that's what I would think. Like there's more of a chance, I think, of them starting closer together because of the qualifying group that they're in.
Okay.
But there is no denying that Larson has been much more elite qualifier everywhere.
I'm gonna look. I'm curious what Buescher's number is right now, both of them. But Buescher's number is because with that, Ryan, I'm gonna be curious to kind of look into that. Let's transition now into the prop position market. I'm curious what you guys have to say. Ryan, I'm gonna let you kick it off.
All right, so this one, the last I saw, which was before we got on, and then Greg posted one too on 365. So Joey Logano, there's still plus 120 top 10s out there for Joey Logano. And I like that if you can find it. I thought it was down to 105 was the best, and then Greg posted something right before we started that he found 120, I think on 365. Only one person had a better finish on shorter flat tracks last year than Joey Logano. I don't really throw out the Phoenix race, but he's just in such a slump right now. I know it sounds tough to trust, but his true performance at Richmond, specifically, he was 10th and 7th. He's 8th best overall on the short flats in true performance. He has top 10 finishes in 16 of his last 20 Richmond races, and he's top 5 in 11 of those 20 races. So, I mean, so a lot of those are pretty safe, well within the top 10 here. And in the last 22 and 23, only Denny and Truex have a higher percentage of their laps ran inside the top 10 at Richmond than Logano, which I thought was very interesting. I mean, these are guys that are, 4 and 5 to 1 to win the race or whatever they are. And another guy, was 25 to 1 at one point this week, and they both spend the same amount of time, running up front. Yeah, he would only have to get a top 5 here, less than half the time, and he's done it 80% of the time over the last 20. So, yeah, I like Logano, and this kind of goes what I was talking about earlier. This is a track where I think some people just know how to maintain their stuff. They're good at pit strategy here and know how to be there at the end, and that's what I think of Logano. So, yeah, top 10 plus 120, I thought was a stupid price.
Okay, good. So we're aligned there with Logano a bit. Tino, how about you? What'd you find for us?
The one I'm looking at here is on DraftKings is Alex Bowman at plus 150 for a top 10 finish. Now, this one's interesting to me because I feel like Bowman, at least right now, has the best CLV on the board in terms of outright winners. But, sticking to the position prop wise, he qualified on the pole here last year. So he has a good shot at starting up front. And I think that's going to matter, especially, having the first pit stall and things like that. If that does happen again, he has 3 top 10s in the last 6 races at this track. He's won here before, and I think he's just trending in the right direction overall. Like he had a great speed at Coda. Phoenix, maybe wasn't that much of a player, but that was just because the Toyotas were so dominant. I feel like no one out there could even contest with what kind of speed they brought to the track. I just feel like this is a position where Alex Bowman is in, where he's racing better. People are surprised about it. I'm not, specifically because he was the points leader at this point last season before he got hurt. And I feel like he's kind of getting back to healthy Alex Bowman, and a plus 150, definitely for a Hendrick Motorsports driver that's capable of finishing inside the top 10. I like the value there.
Okay, so you like the value there for Bowman. Bowman, good finish last week at Coda. At these tracks where he normally does well, he does back it up. So he doesn't disappear like sometimes he does in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here at Richmond this weekend. Phil, how about you? How about you close out the market for us?
Yeah, I think we'll wrap up Hendrick Motorsports because we've talked about pretty much everybody so far except for NASCAR's Fixed. So let's go with Chase Elliott, top 10. You can get him at minus 115 on Caesars right now. And the case I'm trying to make about Chase isn't that he's going to be lightning fast or he's going to come out and he's going to shock people. What the numbers are telling me about Chase is he's going to be in around 10th. And I'm looking at the last 9 at Richmond, but he obviously was only in 8 of them, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10. So if he's good, he's kind of really good. But even when he's not, like, your bet is still kind of hovering late in the race because his average finish is 10.1. That's 7th compared to everyone in that time span. Driver rating is 7th. And looking at last 4 races at Richmond, next gen, 7th there as well in both driver rating and average finish. He was 10th in average finish on short flat tracks last year. And then I want to look at Phoenix because, kind of a comp track there. And he got kind of swindled there, finishing 19th, but his average running position there was 10th. His green flag speed was 11th. Like, that was a track looking back on it. We're like, oh man, Chase 19th. Okay. Trash. Well, not really. He's giving you a shot to win this race. Win this bet if you're taking him for a top 10. And when the odds were coming out, obviously we got kind of scorched by the books for top 10s this week. It was a shame. I was hoping we might get some Chase at plus money, but minus 115, I think that is serviceable for those numbers that we're seeing there. He's in and around 10. I think he's going to fight for it. You're muted.
Yeah, I figured at least I would do that at some point this year. So we talked about Chase Elliott, minus 115, Logano, plus 120, Bowman, plus 150. And then earlier I mentioned about Barry, plus 400 top 10s there. So interesting mix, to say the least. Chris, before he goes and records Stay Green with Todd Furman, he asked this: how do you guys think about the race going from day to night this weekend? And what are your thoughts before he goes to record? Show of hands, anybody have a quick thought on what you guys think? I know I kind of said something earlier, but I think there could be an interesting transition there that we see, maybe a little bit of a different race. Obviously, it's not going to be as slick, I don't think.
It probably could, but I just looked at the weather. I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to pretend like I do, but looking at the weather, and I just did again since Chris mentioned that Saturday morning they qualify, early, and it's like 60 degrees and cloudy, and then they don't race until 7 p.m. Sunday night, which is also 60 degrees and cloudy. So yeah. it seems like the same temperature for both, but I don't know. I mean, they're also gonna race on the track in between practice and qualifying and the Cup race. So, and then it's gonna just sit there. I don't know how that all works, with it baking in the sun on Sunday, but yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I think we're going to see less tire wear compared to the fall. We're still going to see significant tire wear, but a little bit less, which could play a factor with some of these guys, kind of up at the front, really kind of getting after it. We see a lot of issues at the front of the pack where guys then fade. I think that could be one thing that we see this weekend. I think Fords are going to be good. I think that could play a factor. We saw that at Charlotte last year. I know it's different style track, but I think that those cooler conditions could help the Ford camp a little bit. So let's do this.
We saw Blaney just absolutely blow away the fields, once it got cooler out. So
yep. So that'll be interesting to know. And I feel like we had that storyline continued throughout the year, like maybe even at Gateway. I know Busch won, but I think there were some of those storylines continued. So that's going to be my thinking there. So let's now transition to the outright market. And this is presented by Victory Fuel. If you guys don't know already, go to Victory or drinkvictory.com. Use the promo code FrontStretch, FRONT. STRETCH at checkout. You'll get a discount there on all their products. I'm going to kick it over to Tino. Let you kick this one off for us.
Let's go. I'm happy to be first here because I feel like this is a driver we all are probably thinking of, or at least I hope so, and that's Martin Truex Jr. To win outright. I just feel like this is his best shot to do so this season. He showed consistent speed where it mattered most. He was there at Phoenix a little bit more than I thought he would be, at least. Bristol as well. That gave me a little bit of optimism. But we're going out to Richmond. I think this is just a track where he has the second best average finish. That next to Denny Hamlin in the last 6 races there, at least. He led almost 800 laps in the last 10 races there. So he consistently brings the speed. 3 wins at Richmond, and they all come at night. So that plays perfectly into his hands with the new Toyota bodies. Oh, that's something that really hypes me up going into this one because we saw them at Phoenix dominate. And that's a track where they were not fast at. They only had 15 laps led at Phoenix heading into this year. And then they get the new bodies and they were lights out. Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, you guys talked about it on the pod when we were going into that race. And I think that's huge. These new bodies for me, and you guys are talking about going day to night. I think when you go day to night and with the bodies of the Toyotas that seem to handle a lot better than the other Chevys and Fords at these intermediate tracks, at least so far this season, I think people are catching up to the speed that they have had. Speaking of the Toyotas, and I think Martin Truex Jr. is just going to ride away with this one. And one last note about him. We can compare this track to New Hampshire Motor Speedway and Phoenix, like we mentioned. Well, who won New Hampshire? It was MTJ. He started second, led 254 laps, and swept all the stages. I mean, I just think it's his time this weekend. Night race, too. And it's a Toyota. It's sponsored by Toyota. He's driving the Toyota car, the scheme, and everything. Come on.
It all lines up. That's what you're saying. It's all line up, MTJ, Toyota. So you like MTJ, and the best price you found was what again?
6-1 right now. And I feel like that's honestly pretty good for a driver like him at this track. I'm happy with that value.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what his price movement looks like post-qualifying practice. Phil, how about you?
So I'll go with. I was going to take the cheap route here, but I'm not. I'm going to actually take someone, and I think it's just worth talking about Keselowski. He's 12-1. So I think though, maybe wait on Brad after, before I get into the reasons here, just because his qualifying efforts haven't been that stout. So, and if is he in Group B? I didn't see. I know the big split is a topic of conversation, but if he's in Group B, that's even worse for him. So you might be able to get him at a better number down the road. But Brad is someone that I think a lot of us are just kind of waiting for that that shoe to drop kind of deal. This race in the summertime, I guess it was, not the fall, but he led the most laps, 100 plus laps led. And, looking at the last 9 at Richmond, he's got a win, 2 top 5s, and he's 5 for 9 finishing in the top 10. He's 100% hit rate finishing in the top 15. So to me, if we're talking about an outright pick, who cares about top 15s, but we need to be consistently up there in order to give him a shot if there is something late. And what we saw last year was like long green flag runs, and his car was just the class of the field at some point. So he is someone that I feel like we could trust. And the Toyota camp I'm on this week. Maybe I'll talk about them next. That was who I was going to cheap out and just go with them. But if my mind was like, all right, trying to find someone else who's not a Toyota, who's given us a decent odd, who's got the history at Richmond and had shown some decent speed at Phoenix, Keselowski. He was fast at Phoenix. He was faster than Buescher, ran consistently better than Buescher at Phoenix, even though he didn't get the finish ahead of him. But and then he's got this history at Phoenix that really just tells us, hey, keep your eyes peeled on him. So I think that if you're looking for maybe a longer play, Keselowski, I think a lot of us expect him to get a win this year. Why not this track? This is definitely one that stands out to him.
Yeah, his pit strategy, how he came into his box in the fall really hurt everything, their whole sequence. And I was always wondering, what would that have looked like? Would he have been in victory lane and not Buescher? They had a really fast hot rod, like you said, Phil. So I like the call out there, I really do. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan next. What do you think?
So I hate to double up here, but
please,
I'm with I like Truex at the current number that it's at. Really it's tough because him, Hamlin, Bell, all in that same group. But I mean, you're talking like what, 425 for Bell and Hamlin, and 6 or 625, I think, is on MGM for Truex right now. So you can get a little better. I know Caesars had a boost out there for 650 for Truex. So you get a little extra bit there. Regardless of him being in the tougher group, I don't see his number really, going up any more than it is. He can qualify 15th. I think he'll still be around 7-1. But he could also just pole it or qualify really well and just stay up front all day. And he's also a guy too, though, where if he did qualify 10th to 15th, something like that, I don't really mind, because I like Truex for the long run. I like him to conserve his tires and be there at the end again. And like you said, you mentioned all the laps that he's led. He does that. He knows how to get up front here. He's won a bunch of races here. And at the current numbers, where I really just like that Toyota camp, I did take RFK, when it first opened. So I do have those numbers out there. I also took Reddick at 16. But he's another one that I was kind of hoping got into a better qualifying group. Maybe that number would be, of value, but I don't know. I think Truex is the one I'd take, but I have not bet it yet. I bet the Hamlin minus 150 over Byron. I bet the Logano top 10. I have not bet this yet, but I'm highly considering it.
Okay, so you're highly considering that, and I think both these outrights that you guys talked about are very key. I like all the data as shared there. So let's transition to one of our final segments. It's the best values and best bets here, what we can find on the board from the guys. And speaking of values, go over to Driven Sunglasses. Phil and I were just talking about this before we went live. There's a promo code that we now have on the show that you can see here on screen. And if you use promo code FS20, it'll get you 20% off, and you'll be able to utilize that at checkout. They are doing a spring deal as well, where you buy one, you get one half off. You buy two, you get one free. Great products. Highly recommend it. So if you can go over there, do that. That would help them out. So I'm going to kick this over to Phil, let you go first. What do you got for us?
Well, I'll hit you with two, because the manufacturer, it's Toyota or nothing this week, minus 120. I'm scared that those guys, we saw last week at Coda, it was like plus 120, and then it jumped to like minus 130 or whatever it was. And I'm nervous that if these guys qualify well, it's going to be unbettable. So Toyota is the manufacturer pick this week for all those reasons. And I could have gone with Joe Gibbs Racing, but I'm scared that I'd get beat by Reddick. So I know SC was looking for a little 2311 talk. I'm scared of Reddick snaking me there. But value, I'll throw a wild one at you. How about a car over under cars to not complete 200 laps?
Ooh,
this is 0.5 and it's plus 100. So maybe a quick win early in the race.
It's what?
The reason it's 0.5, this is on Caesars. The reason it's 0.5 is because last year there wasn't a single car, both races, everybody made it halfway.
What's the number?
What's that?
Yeah, Richmond is known as a very clean race. That's one
what's
thing
the
about
number?
this. It's not.
It's plus 100.
Oh,
so
plus
you're
100.
plus money.
Oh. Yeah.
And looking back at the history, we've got in the last 10 races, 6 of the 10 races, we've had a guy not finish 200 laps, and then going back at 9 for 13. So last year with the sweep, bit of an anomaly. We haven't seen a sweep. I went back 20 races. We haven't seen a back-to-back 0 cars completing 200 laps, except for the last 2 years. So 3 in a row? I don't think so. Someone's going to crap out early, and especially if it gets like wild, like we were saying, maybe
like
the cold weather and the tire wear, somebody's got problems. I'm going plus 100, and you might hit that bet, and we're halfway through, and you're already like, okay, look at me.
Basically, plus 100, Austin Dillon wrecks out in the first 10 laps again.
Oh,
that is some fighting words.
That's how you bring it back. That's well done.
That is very well done. Yeah, Phil, you've been really fire with some of those manufacturer bets, like David was saying. I like these out of the box stuff. I mean, I love that. Really, under the lights, Easter, get people watching. Somebody's gonna be crashing out of there. Somebody's gonna get lapped down. Mechanical issue. You have a lot of things at your disposal. So I like that. Even money. That might be a favorable bet this weekend. Ryan, how about yourself? What do you got?
For value, really just on straight what I think is like betting value, it's the Logano top 10. I'm sorry I got to go with the same thing here, but I don't want to just make something up.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I think the Logano top 10, if you're getting it for plus money, I think it's a great bet.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate any time any of you guys come back to something, because that really validates and helps the listenership out there to understand, wow, this person was really solidified in this. Tino, how about yourself? Close this out for us, my friend.
All right, so there's one driver I need to mention. I don't think, in terms of his chances of winning, I don't think they're that great, but I want to just throw him out there real quick, and then I'll get to my one that I believe in more. And that's first up, it's going to be Alex Bowman. He's 50-1 to win. And to me, if we're talking value, that's the most value for an underdog driver who has the chances of winning here like he does. So 50-1, Alex Bowman, Hendrick Carr, I think he has a good shot to at least, for that number, provide value to win. But in terms of a more solidified pick that I am going to put a couple units on myself that I feel like is going to provide that value that we are looking for, is going to be Ty Gibbs top 5. Is at plus 100 right now on DraftKings. It might be a little bit better elsewhere, but that's the book that I'm looking at right now. Ty Gibbs, to me, in the last 5 races, he got 5 top 10s, 2 top 3s. He's the most improved driver. I think a plateau is coming. I don't think he's going to be able to withstand the finishes that he has been getting, but that's not going to be happening until a track like Texas, I believe. I think Ty's going to continue staying hot, and I think I was on him heavily to win at Bristol. He was close there, had one of the best cars, just wasn't able to manage the tires as well. Phoenix, he finished in 3rd. This is a track comparable to that. He finished 9th and 15th in his first couple of races for, in his first full-time season, rookie season last year. So that was encouraging to me to see. And I just feel like, he's led 180 plus laps in the Xfinity Series at this track. He's won there in the Xfinity Series. Different car for sure. I know all that. They're not even comparable, but I just think if you're proven to win at this track and have the reps to do so, I think Ty Gibbs for a top 5 can continue his hot streak right now. I think he's the most improved driver in the field. And I like him to actually potentially go out and win this race too. I don't think the value is really quite there for me at plus 850 to bet on Ty Gibbs, but with the new Toyota bodies and how strong they have been, he's been right up there in these past few weeks to be a winner.
Wow. Yeah, as you're talking about this, Tino, there's a couple people putting in what they're finding for their numbers for Gibbs top 5. 3-1 is the best one right now in Bet 365 available out there. So that is triple the value of what you said.
That might be a joke for what just happened, because right before we started the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 365 was taking back bets from Ty Gibbs. So
I see I see the wait now. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you got me, Troy. I'm like a news reporter. I'll read anything on the teleprompter. I'll read anything. So you put it up there, I'm probably gonna read it. That's awesome, which will not ever get me in trouble. So awesome stuff. Let's move into one of our last segments here. It's the DK features. I was gonna had something teed up, but Phil kind of spooked me a little bit, so we'll bring something back maybe next week. Yeah, we might switch it up. You might have convinced me to go in a different direction there. So the DK featured matchups, which you'll see down here on the bottom of the screen, and again, this is something that we're keeping track of, and then there's going to be some type of a reward or punishment at the end of the year. So we got 3 of them here, and Tino, I'm curious what your thoughts are. So we talked about Truex versus Gibbs. Hamlin versus Bell, Byron versus Hamlin. Phil, I'm going to start with you. What do you think? Where are you going with those?
Hamlin, Truex. I think Truex and Hamlin are top dogs. So Hamlin in both of those bets, and I'll roll with Truex.
Okay, so same. Okay.
Yeah.
Tino, how about you? I know how you feel about. Well, actually, I guess you're going to go Truex 4 spots better than Gibbs. That one seems a little tight. Where are you going with some of these?
Yeah, no, I think that's the exact point. I like Martin Truex Jr. to win, and I like Ty Gibbs top 5. So in that sense, Martin Truex Jr. there. Hamlin versus Bell. The only issue or thought that comes to my mind about why I would have a conflict of not choosing Christopher Bell over Denny Hamlin here would be because of Kyle Busch being out there looking for revenge potentially, which it can come. At Richmond, true. Kyle Busch can wreck out drivers here and at least just play mind games. I want to go against the grain though. I'll go Truex, Christopher Bell, and then Denny Hamlin.
Truex. Oh, I like that. Truex, Bell, Hamlin for you. I do like Truex over Gibbs. I like that experience side. You kind of said something as well about New Hampshire. I really like that tie-in of what you did there. I do like the Hamlin over Bell and Hamlin over Byron. Ryan, I thought you made some really good points about Hamlin versus Byron there. So awesome show. And I really appreciate everybody that listened on Twitter, listened on YouTube. Phil, I want to throw it over to you before Tino closes us out, but please tell everybody how they can best follow, support what you got going on. And again, always enjoy chatting, even the conversation we had about Barry versus Dylan. So really appreciate the conversations here tonight.
Yeah, appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and chat with you guys like this. Full Tank Phil on Instagram and Twitter. Give me a follow, and Full Tank with Phil's name of the podcast, and we'll be back to trucks next week with NASCAR Betting Preview Show. So appreciate everyone in the comments, and Tino coming on, fantastic debut, and great stuff. Everyone, good luck this weekend, and happy Easter. Celebrate, and we'll win some tickets.
I like it. Ryan, how about yourself? Thanks again for joining us, and go ahead, plug all your many things.
Thank you guys. Again, for everyone who listened, watched, everything, contributed in the chat. It's wintherace.info. Just wintherace.info. That's it. You can follow me on X at wintheracepl1. But check the site out. Whether you're a data dork or DFS guy, better, all of the above, which most of us are that are on there. I think I have a little something for everybody. So yeah, check it out. wintherace.info. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. And Tino, can't say thank you enough. Please plug where people can find you that might be listening to the show for the first time.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, I'm a long-time viewer and consumer of all your content here at the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. So it's been an honor. I hope I, did a good job and entertained folks out there. Appreciate everyone in the chat as well. You can find me across all social media channels at Tino, Pattigno. It's Tino Patino there. I have my own podcast, which is called Tino Patino Here. You can listen to me give out my best bets on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio weekly. I do some spots for them, and my segments are weekly there. That is SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. I'm the host of the Through the Gears podcast for Front Stretch. We talk NASCAR betting there as well, so tune in there on YouTube and all across the Front Stretch podcast networks. You can find me on Sports Wrap with Jason Page, which is a sports betting and sports breakdown show where we talk on cable televisions. Check your local listings there for that one. Always like doing that with them and getting my voice out there and showing you guys the best bets throughout each week. I take clips from there, put it all across my social media channels as well. And yeah, just, I'm going to keep going on, and you guys can find me everywhere that I just mentioned. So appreciate it.
Well, awesome. Well, you'll definitely be on again, and you're killing it over through the gears. So, for somebody that is represented with Front Stretch, really appreciate what you're doing there. If you are new, make sure you follow me at Derek Yoder _ on X. Follow the NASCAR Betting Preview Show at NASCAR BPS as well. Whether you're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you subscribe. We have a lot of shows throughout the course of a week, so we got a little bit of something for everybody there. Guys, can't thank you enough. Really appreciate everybody here, Phil, Ryan, Tino, for joining me here this evening. And have a great, like Phil said, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Easter holiday. And hopefully next week when we're coming back for Richmond, we can be a little bit richer. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.